Okay, here is day one for the beginning choir. You should have a worksheet that looks exactly like this. Normally I would be teaching this to you, but since I'm gonna be out for a little bit, you have to deal with this. Okay, so does everyone see this list of vocab? These are the words that I really need you to lock in and pay attention to, okay? So we're gonna learn about a quarter note, a quarter rest, a bar line, measure, beat, counts, time signature, sound, silence, and rhythm. Okay? So the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna have you look over here. Okay. So on the very top of the board, do you see this word that says time signature? The time signature, if you look at a piece of music, do you see these two numbers right here? This is called a time signature. This gives you a lot of information, but the most important one that you need to pay attention to first is this top number. It tells you the number of beats. It's really important that you don't think notes. These things down here, these are types of notes. So it's the number of beats, which is like when you're listening to a piece of music, you feel beat, 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 that's a beat. So it's a number of beats per measure. And you're like, Hatch, what's a flippin' measure? Okay, so if you look down here, a measure, and on your paper, a measure is the space between bar lines. Another funny word, bar lines. If you look at your sheet of music, you should have something that kind of looks, this is not exact, but you should see something that has a bunch of notes that look like this, quarter notes and quarter rest. These lines right here that go up and down, those are bar lines. So right here at the time signature, you kind of need to pretend there's a bar line right there. I probably should keep it like this so it video doesn't go weird. So between this bar line and the beginning, this space is a measure. From here to this bar line, this technically is called a double bar line, but you'll learn about that later. That's another measure. So within this space, you're only allowed to have 4 beats. In this example, there also happens to be only 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, but once we get into more complex rhythms and note values, this will make more sense. Okay, so going back to the top number tells you the number of beats, okay? This bottom number, this 4, tells you what note is the symbol for the beat. So that sound, the symbol, when you see a 4 on the bottom, tells you that these 2 notes, a quarter note and a quarter rest, those are the symbols for the beat, okay? This note, when the 4 is on the bottom, gets 1 beat of sound, okay? So it's ta, ta, that's 1 beat of sound. This guy that looks like a little lightning bolt 3 thing, that's a quarter rest, and it gets 1 beat of silence. So this is 1 beat of silence. So that's 1 beat of silence. So I'm not actually singing something. Okay, so this word right here is called a rhythm. If you could spell that word correctly, I will be impressed, because it's kind of tricky. There's like no vowels in there unless you count the Y as a vowel. Okay, so rhythms, you're here to say, write down the counts for the rhythms. These notes right here, those are rhythms, okay? Right here, I want you to pay real close attention to the difference between beats versus counts, okay? So beats, this is a specific number. It's either 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes it can be a half. But right here, since this note right here is a quarter note, quarter notes right here get how much of a beat? 1. So when you write beats down, I want you to write 1 and just leave it alone like that. When you see a rest like this, the quarter rest, it still gets 1 beat, but it's a silent one. So I want you to circle it, okay? This one right here, this is a quarter note and it gets 1 beat. This is a quarter note, it also gets 1 beat. Bar line, but that doesn't really change the number of beats. This is a quarter note, it gets 1 beat. Quarter note gets 1 beat. Quarter rest gets 1 beat, but it's silent, so circle it. That's a quarter note, gets 1 beat, okay? That's a step that if you get confused with writing counts, I'll explain this in just a second, do this first to help you, okay? So going to counts, this is the tricky part that a lot of people get confused. When we do counts, this, going back to this top number, this tells you the number of beats, but it also tells you the max, the highest number you can use in between these bar lines. So if you look down here on my count column, I use 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can't use a 5, I have to use all 4 of those numbers because this top number is 4. So right here, the first count that we're allowed to use is count 1, because this guy gets 1 whole beat, so it takes up all of beat 1. The next count we can use, because we can't use 1 again, even though this does get 1 beat, the next number after 1 is 2. So you're at a 2, but since this is a rest, I want you to cross it out, okay? This guy right here is a quarter note. It gets 1 beat of sound, okay? So we already used 1, we already used 2, so the next count we have to use is 3. And then this one, the next count we use is 4. This guy, do you remember what this is called? This is called a bar line. It's really important. Counts always reset back to 1 when you cross a bar line. So whenever you cross this, the counts, this bottom column, always resets back to 1. So since it's a quarter note, it gets 1. The next count we can use, since that gets 1's beat, is 2. This is a beat of silence, but the next count we can use is 3. But since it's a rest, you have to cross it off. And then this guy right here gets 1 beat, and it's beat 4. I hope that makes sense. So on your paper, I just kind of review this. The very top line is that vertical line that separates music into measures. So I wrote that right here. This is the measure, the spacing between all these bar lines, okay? And this top number tells how many beats per measure, not notes. The bottom number tells you what note is a symbol for the beat. And in this case, when it's a 4, it's these guys. Sometimes this note you can see upside down like that, but we'll talk about that another day. This is called a quarter note, and it gets 1 beat of sound. This is a quarter rest, it gets 1 beat of silence, okay? So right here, on the perform section, I want you to write down the counts. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you notice on this little image right here, whoop, right there, I have a pencil with the numbers next to it? That's giving you a little hint that underneath this, I want you to give me the 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. Remember, whenever you see a rest right there, it's still a number, but you have to cross it out, okay? This next little section is when you get to have some fun. Okay, the create section. See the little pencil with the notes? This is where you're going to either draw a quarter note, so the guy that looks like this, or a quarter rest in each one of those spaces right here. So you can either choose to put a quarter note or a quarter rest, quarter note, quarter rest. You're just kind of making up your own, but make sure only one of these notes fits in each of these boxes, okay? If you notice this line right here is a little bit darker than the rest, that's telling you that's your bar line. That's this guy. Yes, and these ones are kind of a little bit thinner, but that's telling you within each of these boxes is only allowed 1 beat, okay? The next one, I don't know if the sub will be able to do this, but I'll probably end up doing this just for funsies, and hopefully I can make sure I can write down what we did. Okay, see this little ear? I'm gonna play something for you, and then you see a little pencil with a note next to it. That means you're gonna be drawing the notes in here. Okay, so I'm gonna taw a rhythm. That's gonna be 8 notes worth, and you have to write down whether you think it's a quarter note, which is like that circle with the stick next to it, or the quarter rest, which is the lightning bolt 3. Okay, so here we go. If you hear, this is the beat. Can you hear that? So every time that passes, a box happens. Here we go. I'm gonna taw it, and you write down what you hear. 2, here we go, and ta, 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 ta. Write down what you think. If you got it wrong, if you are confuzzled, I can't repeat because I don't have this written down. Rewind the video and try it again. Remember, whenever I said ta, that's where you write a quarter note that looks like that guy right there. Oops. And then when I didn't say a ta, that's when you write the little quarter rest that looks like a little 3. Okay, When you're done doing all those, I want you to rate your understanding of this. Beginners being like, oh, this is new to me. I have no idea what's happening. I need help. Necesito ayuda. Number 2 is like, you're kind of starting to understand it, but you still need a little bit of help. Capable, like, you can do this. You really can. You might mess up every now and then. Confident is that you can do this on your own. You don't need me to help you. And an expert is like, I got this. I can teach this to my friend. Okay. The next part of this one, this sheet, when we start rehearsing, you'll rate your rehearsal score based on the rubric. This is the next little section you can do. This is a little crossword puzzle. All the words that we talked about are found in here. So search for them in there, circle them, and then cross them off as you're done with that. This next section is the quote of the day. And this quote says right here, we know an age more vividly through its music than its historians. So that's kind of saying, if I were to listen to music from like 900 BC, that music would sound way different than the music that's happening today in 2025. So we just learn a lot about people through their music. So the question I want to ask you, what does the music that you listen to tell someone about you? So here's a little sentence starter. The music I listen to tells people that, and then write down what you think the music that you listen to tells people. For example, I listen to choir music a lot because I'm kind of a choir nerd, and so I'm assuming that tells people, some people might think it means that I'm a snob, but I think it tells people that I'm just a really calm person and I like being at peace. Yes, some people may think it means I'm boring, but whatever, they don't know really good quality music. Okay, next question. There's no right or wrong answer to any of these questions, but this one right here. If someone likes country, rap, opera, punk, oh, that's supposed to say rock. That's a typo. Typo, let's fix it. Rock, R&B, etc. What do you think about them? So I want you to pick any genre, but it can't be a genre. It can't be your favorite like style of music. So I want you to write, if people listen to blank type of music. So for example, if I say, if people listen to country music, I think they might, and what do you think about those people? You might think this is stereotyping, but just say what you think of people that listen to certain styles of music. Just like I mentioned earlier, some people, if they hear me listen to choir music, they're like, she's kind of a snob, or she might be hoity-toity, but that's not necessarily true. So just say, what do you think about people who listen or perform certain types of music? Because you're going to be performing music from all over the world, okay? So enjoy that. I hope all that makes sense. Happy practicing. If you don't get this, go back and redo it. This is really weird teaching a video online. So be awesome. Have a wonderful day. Be great. Bye.